my name's Sean Fitheridge. I'm the marketing manager for the Chamber of Commerce. And yeah, I'm relatively new, to be honest, so please be kind. First of all, thank you for all joining. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all here. It's absolutely fantastic. So why don't we just sort of go around the room a little bit, or the virtual room, and just kind of give all of our listeners just a quick intro, a little bit about who you are and what your business is and what you're about.
Hello, so I'm Luke. I initially started and got invited in this conversation because a chain of coffee shops. I still have a coffee business that we do wholesale in a cafe. But these days I guide people in mountains and do like boutique adventures for people. So people that don't have time in the calendar to go and do a race, I'll organize a race event where I'll take a small group out and take them in mountains and push people in that world. So that's me.
Hi guys, so my name is Lou Neath. I am the CEO and co-founder of Plus Ricky Animation Studios, which is based in Carlisle, very proudly waving our Cumbrian flag for the industry. We do all kinds of work across animation, so whether it's brand mascots, we do animation explainers right the way through to full TV broadcast production. We've worked on a number of broadcast shows for the likes of Sky Kids, the BBC, and we also develop our own intellectual property projects, which we then pitch to streamers and broadcasters. And we just want to tell stories with cool characters for people to fall in love with all over the world.
Fantastic. And that's brilliant. There's a lot of stuff going on there and some big names that you're working with as well. That sounds, really interesting.
Keeps us on our toes, Sean.
I bet.
Yeah, afternoon, everybody. I'm Klein Albertelli and I'm the MD of CoreLab. CoreLab is a management engineering consulting business. We work across the nuclear industry and regulated sectors, which is actually just a ploy to be able to pay into some of our spin-out startup companies, one of which is an IoT sensor that detects conditions for pneumonia in baby cows. So in plain English, we say baby cows. It's always a good message. And the other is Scrub Marine, which is a submersible, remotely operated vehicle that cleans barnacles and algae off maritime shipping vessels. So lots going on, and pleased to be here with all of you amazing people, including the king of the bog.
I should have introed with that.
The one and only. Spot on, thanks, Clyde. That sounds like some serious stuff there. Yeah, you're keeping the country going with that stuff, keeping the cogs turning. Okay, so Oliver.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you all again. I really enjoyed the conference in Cumbria. So I'm Ollie Hodgson, founder and managing director of Platinum Live. We're a creative communications agency headquartered next door to Klein. In fact, I'm pretty sure he is next door today. We're in the bus station in Whitehaven, but we work all across the country. And in fact, we've got clients across the United States and Europe as well. We primarily provide PR and marketing services, but also have a few spin-out projects in live events. We've worked with all sorts of brands from Porsche, Kendall Calling, the BBC, and Carlisle United, and worked with very many well-known individuals too. Constantly flying the flag for Cumbria. I'm 22, so I'm very young in my career. I've been running my agency since I was 16 years old. Dropped out of school at 15. Everyone's heard that story by now. So really, really looking forward to having a good conversation again with a great bunch of people.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Oliver. And wow. You dropped out of school at 15 and started that agency. That is genuinely amazing.
Yeah.
I really admire that.
Age is a number. Yeah, sometimes an important number, but for me...
I use that the other way around now. Age is just a number. I'm still down with the kids, Like, see the reversal there.
I like it. Brilliant. So, Gina, let's hear from you.
Hello, my name's Gina Golding. I am the founder of my own business, Bakes by Gina, a bakery based in Whitehaven in Cumbria. Started really small scale whilst working alongside my full-time career as a civil engineer on Sellafields. Been really fortunate and lucky with opportunities, and we've scaled up from one industrial unit refurb to 3 now. So I'm just waiting to sign the 3rd unit at the end of this month. In that time, so we now do wholesale cakes and tray bakes. But in that time last year, I signed the lease for my dream cafe. So I'm now a cafe owner. employ about 30 staff, upskilled at least 3 of them. 2 are on degree apprenticeships and one's on a level 2 business admin. But yeah, if you need cakes, then hopefully come to me.
Absolutely fantastic. So that's quite a shift, isn't it, from what you were doing previously? Sort of like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I guess everybody's got their own story in business. Mine was mainly, I want to say, sort of mental health, therapy. I've always enjoyed baking and being creative. Used to work in a cafe when I was younger, and I've always said by the time I'm 50, I want to. I say the word retire, but anybody that's in hospitality knows that it's far from retirement. But yeah, it's always been my dream and my focus. I never thought that pursuing a career in civil engineering and concrete and steel work would then lead to, me structuring someone's wedding cake. But there is a lot of transferable skills there, especially when the units and the cafe, actually, every business that I've had has gone through a massive refurb. And I actually think it's the engineering processes and the planning and the people and sort of seeing, you get one idea, but actually planning it and seeing it right through. I think that's the part that I enjoy, the day-to-day running. It's okay, but actually, me learning a new skill, putting a stud partition up or knocking walls down, and from a customer's experience, especially in the cafe, seeing the new layout actually work, that gives me the thrill, but it goes unseen, unheard of, really.
Nice. And I guess that's the thing of it, really. It's the thrill, isn't it, that drives all to do what we want, really.
Yeah, at the conference, the Chamber ran this year, I loved Luke's reference about it being a game. And I've really reflected on that, to be honest, because, at what point do you know what I mean? You stop and decide to run up mountains instead, because I've just started my running career. So I'm following in your footsteps.
Do it. I'm like the Mad Hatter for entrepreneurial advice.
Brilliant. I'm interested to hearing what do you mean by it's like a game, Luke?
I think it's the best way to treat anything. It's so pressure, and this ambiguous pressure of entrepreneurship is huge. Like, I went through phases of having panic attacks and stuff, but I didn't know the word for ages. Like, it was having chest pains at night, loads of sweats, and like being a very self-confident, highly motivated individual. I was just like, well, I'm just dying because I can't be panicking. I'm not a panicking person. But for me, like, when you treat everything like a game and a puzzle, you use the word puzzle really well there. It's just fun. You're just overcoming the next thing in front of you. I think people have this pre-business idea that people just know what they're doing and they get to a point where they have a system and a consistency. And that's true, but you build backfill with systems, but we're still marching forward. So the forward bit is just a puzzle and a game to figure out. And it's just like, you start seeing problems as just like, I don't know, things to solve and things to tweak and things to pull apart rather than a problem. Because if you just stop if it's a problem, right? Whereas anything moving forward, if it's just a puzzle and a game, it's more interesting. You want to tackle it. You want to dive into it and see what it's about rather than go, oh, that's another thing in my way. So, yeah.
The bit I found interesting, though, was you said, at what point do you stop? What point does it not become, that game? So,
yeah, what is the game? I think I got this because you start quite young, like you guys are all young. And you start and you're ambitious and you drive and you're motivated. It's like, well, plan the end. And you said about retirement, it's like I genuinely feel like a retired person now. I'm still working, I'm still productive, I'm still active, but I love what I get to do, and I'm very fortunate. I was like thinking about I need a high ambiguous plan for 2026, and I'm like, actually I've got to a point where I really love and respect the body I've built. I really like the mind that I've got. I love how much time I get with my family. I get to be really productive and help people with challenges on a regular basis. It's like every time I do a big ambiguous thing, it's almost some big egotistical celebration of me. It's like, I'm still wonderful. Look at me. I did a thing.
And I think that's really good because, you've achieved that sort of like your own freedom, in a sense. So it's like, what you want out of the world. And to bring it back to what you were saying about making it a puzzle, making it a game, I think that's a really good way to look at it in a sense, because I think you're right. A lot of people come into either entrepreneurship or business and they have such a they look through such a serious lens, and it's like, oh, I've got to do it like this, like this, like this. And they maybe feel a bit sort of constrained about the way that they have to sort of tackle a certain situation, and it has to be serious. They can't have a laugh. They can't have fun with it. It's like, it's either all or nothing, and they put so much pressure on themselves to do it in that way that they end up perhaps losing the thing that they wanted, which is that freedom that you've been talking about, to actually go rock up to work, love the thing that you're doing, and just feel like you're already retired. I mean, that's amazing. Perhaps that's an advantage of being young, maybe, do you think, and going into something like this, because, as the years go on, generally you see the world in a different way.
I guess it depends on what you're chasing and what you want, whether you want to grow a lifestyle business or whether you want to grow a business that goes on to do X, Y, and Z, numbers, offices, headcount. Everyone goes into business for very, very different reasons. I mean, personally, I have both. I have the ambition to grow a company that's working with incredible brands, with a great team, and go on to achieve great things. And in my industry, that requires long hours, long days, chasing clients, chasing everything, right? And also my industry is very, very saturated. So you've got to put yourself above the parapet. You've got to get yourself out there. You've got to work your backside off. I was never going to quote Kim Kardashian there, but I probably won't, because she's got
well, a very smart woman, to be honest. She's done very well for herself.
She is incredibly smart, and she said something around some people just don't want to work, and that is true in many different things. I mean, I know peers in my generation who think things are just given to people on a plate. No, but you've got to put the effort into it, regardless of what you want, whether you want a lifestyle business or not. You've got to put some sort of effort in to get to that point, or you've got to be incredibly talented. But for me, the happy medium. Yes, I want the lifestyle. And I feel like now, in the last kind of year or so, I've probably got better at the work-life balance, but I still know I'm operating at 60% capacity, and I could be operating at 110, like I was when I first started the business. And then I'm still hungry for that. But I think it comes and goes, and that's good for your mental health for it to come and go. You don't have to be 120 mile an hour constantly. But for me, there absolutely is an ambition to be like that. Like, I absolutely love the weeks where I'm in Manchester, Glasgow, London in the same week, back at the office, here, there, and everywhere. And then my weekends flat out as well, because I'm seeing so many people. I'm interacting with different people. I'm meeting, new companies and stuff. And it's incredibly exciting. And for me, knowledge is king, knowledge is power, and so is experience, right? And you have to be out and about, you have to be doing things. And I guess, okay, I'm young, so I've got that energy, but actually I've got clients who are double, triple my age, who are still 100 mile an hour, and they absolutely love it. They wouldn't, where they're so career focused. And I guess it just talks to that point that everyone's different. Everyone has a different ambition in life. And depending on what you want, sometimes you do have to be like that. You do have to be ferocious in your work life and the hours that you put in. Nothing is, firstly, Rome wasn't built in a day. And secondly, a lot of people's sectors are so saturated. And if you're not putting in the hours and getting yourself better and learning and stuff, you're not going to stand out fundamentally. That doesn't contradict what Luke said by any stretch of the imagination, because I think it's about what people want. Yeah,
I don't see it as a contradiction at all. Like, I completely get you. Like, I'm a high performance kind of person. Everything I do, I want to do it to the max. The thing that I see different now that I didn't see when I was growing businesses, when you get really good at something, the world wants you. They want to be jumping on your thing. People desire good energy. They desire movement. They desire progress. Most people are in between stagnation. So anything that's moving, they want to jump on. The thing I would be careful of, because you're wonderful. Like, I've got so much respect for what you do, and you're a really high energy person, and I'm the same. I'd be careful of people that just jump on you for their own growth and distract you from your real thing, because that's what distracts you. Because I completely get what you're saying about lifestyle versus business. And I did that argument a lot with myself. And as long as you're working at whatever it is, whether it's a personal thing or a business thing, you work at 100% and give it your all. Just be careful that people aren't just jumping on you and dragging you where they want to use you for. Make sure you're using that energy, and I'm sure you do, to get exactly what you want out of it, whether you call it business, whether you call it play, whether you call it family, whatever it is. Keep being a high performing person. Like, keep that energy, work harder than anyone else. I'm not anti-work. I'm just not working for other people's goals, like using it to like help people around me, but like drive at the thing and be certain that I'm heading to where I want to go.
Well, I think that's a fantastic piece of advice, Luke, because yeah, you're definitely right. In this world we live in at the moment, there's definitely a lot of distractions that can easily pull you off task. And I think it's very important. You've all obviously got your vision of what you want to achieve in your business and in your life. And yeah, you don't really want to be pulled too far off track on that to obviously reach it. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's spot on.
I think time's something that we're all up against, and kind of talking to what Luke literally just said, is we're all asked to do, 100 things, and the expectations, with us all being fairly young, I think people expect a lot more of young people who are in business. And I think when I first started, the first 2 years, especially when I moved into my office, everybody wanted a piece of me and latching onto me, and they wanted my energy and they wanted my time, literally exactly what Luke's just said. And often I would just say yes. I become a yes person. And I think that's a big struggle, is actually now I'm not a yes person, and I do select the events I go to, the podcast I'll appear on. Like, I used to just take every opportunity to the point where I was literally everywhere. And that isn't necessarily a good thing. I think turn up when it matters, turn up when people are dialed in, and turn up when it's unique to you, not just because every Tom, Dick and Harry's there. It's like there's lots of different networking, for example, lots of different networking things in Cumbria. And I'm not going to sit here and bitch about them all, but there is, it can be an energy sucker. Although people kind of dress it up as like great for, this and that, it can suck it out of you, because you stand there comparing yourself with people, with employees who work at massive blue chip engineering companies or massive blue chip law firms, and you're just not like them, and they're not like you. Yeah, they try and create this whole relatability thing. And an entrepreneur of any age, my opinion, and I hope you all don't mind me saying this, our brains all function very, very differently. I'm very, very neurospicy. Like, that does not talk to certain people in that room. And therefore I end up, it's like, what am I doing here? Like, these are not I think surrounding yourself with the right people is so incredibly important too. So I've become a lot more controlling of my time and who I give it to. And I think, that whole like give respect, get respect. Well, I think it's the same with your time. Give your time to people who will give it back in a time that you need it and you need their support. It should always be a two-way street. And I've really come to learn that. And even in my own industry, I've got so many friends in my own industry who on paper were competitors, but actually, we can go and have a beer and have a crack, especially in London and Manchester. I've got loads of agency friends, and oh my God, the gossip over dinner is unbelievable. So it's like we all have like virtual NDAs, right? I think that is kind of what is, the case these days, is where people are like, life's too short to be really like, thing like that. And then there's enough work and it's just not standing out. But then, as I said, I think managing your time is always something that entrepreneurs really struggle with, especially when you're growing clients, you're growing a team. I'm still very much in a lot of my client accounts as well, because that's my purpose. I absolutely love what we deliver. I love the bread and butter PR and marketing. I love getting amongst it all. I love being on the phone to journalists and telling them no. Like, I absolutely get a kick off of that. But then, it's then you're trying to grow a business, you're trying to be an entrepreneur, sat on a panel, doing all your own media stuff and, running a business. Like, it's a lot. It is a lot. No matter really like the sector you're in, there's a lot of pressure. So I think managing time has been an incredibly difficult thing over the last 5 years. I think I've got a lot better at it, and hopefully I'm not, hopefully other people can relate to that, so I don't quite feel alone. But managing my time is definitely one of the most difficult things.
It can be quite cliche, but I think every entrepreneur goes through a learning point at some point in the journey where you have to try to figure out what is your balance between being in the business and being really kind of client facing and operational versus, your time on the business and actually growing the company. And those things, I think, depend on what give you energy as an individual and what gives you that presence every single day. Like, what do you want to do? Are you growing a lifestyle business? Are you growing a business to one day exit on? And I think that dictates a little bit differently for people how they show up in their business. But one of the things that's been challenging for me over the last 12, 18 months is, now that we're building the capacity and the capability in the team, is like how much time do I spend being operational and kind of really front end versus how much time I actually spend in thinking about not tomorrow, but the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 12 months. And I think that, I don't know if there's like you could map it to revenue, I'm not sure, but I'd love to see like at what point people get to where they go, actually, I can't work harder. I've got to get some leverage. I've got to get some leverage here, and leverage in probably all of our businesses is people, and getting people to kind of buy into your vision and strategy and kind of drive with you in that direction.
Well, yeah, I guess in a sense, managing people is probably one of the hardest things in a business to do. I know, like, speaking from experience, you can learn your own job as best you can and you can get good at that. But then when you start to become responsible for other people, it's just a totally different ball game that no one ever really prepares you for. It's just a totally sort of different skill set. So I guess, yeah, Klein, sort of trying to leverage the people in your company to do to either work more efficiently or buy into your vision, to be sort of more inspired. That's the sort of the real challenge.
Yeah, definitely when you're paying somebody's mortgage, that's definitely a stark kind of realization moment, isn't it? It's like, oh my goodness, this person is waiting for their paycheck to pay for food for their family, to pay their mortgage and whatever other things people kind of need to survive. That's definitely a really, like, it's a sobering moment, I think. But I think maybe changing it up slightly, I'd like to know from everybody else, has anyone been through those days where they just want to be a solopreneur and they don't actually want people in their business? They just want to do. I mean, Luke, you probably experienced in that, but like everybody gets to that point, they're like, oh my goodness, wouldn't this be easier without people? But actually, at the same time, it's like, again, not to be too cliche and to quote things, it's like go far, go together, go fast, go alone. Yeah, keen to get views from everybody else on that as well.
I find like bringing people into a team and getting them to all think in a way that's going to tackle the project and be super creative and pull the best out of them, but hit the deadline and be on budget and all of that is such an exhilarating process. But over years of trying to we always want to train people up. We want to create job opportunities for people to get into animation if they live in Cumbria, or even just if you work in animation anywhere in the world, it's hard to get those jobs. It's like, it's a hard industry to break into. And so we always try to create those opportunities. But then, I mean, you'll all know when you get people that you want to train up, but you can't spend your time micromanaging too much because it just completely drains you of everything you have. And you have to be, driving the project forward or like keeping the vision alive. And if you're sucked into all of those like intricate little things, managing certain people is so challenging. But at the same time, you want to build them up, and it's just building those little, I feel, teams of people or like little clusters where they can either like work together and look after each other. And I think it's all the more complicated since remote working too, because I know, when you're in a room, I don't know how, like, you guys are probably in a room quite a lot, especially Gina, like, with the cafe and things. Like with us now, our industry is so remote and it's so hard to train someone up when they are in a different house or a different city or a different country even, and you need to get them thinking like you. So it just adds all these layers of complexity to like get everybody working together, and you really care about them, like you say, like the whole, like, we're making sure they're paying their mortgage or their rent or feeding their babies and all the things. So yeah, the responsibility is sky high.
It's a huge communication challenge. Like, fundamentally, it's just all communication. Like, you love people. Everyone loves people. I don't know anyone that doesn't love people, but managing people is completely different. I found what worked eventually is splitting most of my business, 80% of it into process-driven people and 20% into maximizing and growth-driven people. And I ended up spending so much more time with that 20% on growth, with the hope that process would just hold. The problem with process is it's built for a time and a place, right? So it works for that wonderful time and place that you build to some kind of spectrum, but it's safe. And it's irritating because actually when your business starts doing slightly better, the process stops it from growing. And actually when it's not doing good enough, it costs too much. So that's the pitfall of process, but it releases time to actually focus on a small amount of your team that can be more motivated on growth, it can be more motivated on the future and expanding to make that process driven 80% a bit safer. So that's what I found that worked. It's not that easy. It sounds clean and lovely, but actually it's never that clean. It's a mingling. There's always something going on. Someone needs time off because their uncles, granddads, Eastern European dogs got the flu, and it's just like there's always something that's like, I care, I do care, I love you, and I want you to be happy. Here, have the day off while I put out that fire that you started. And it's a nightmare, but it's wonderful. It's a great challenge.
The best part about people is they're unpredictable. I remember the pressure when I started employing my first member of staff, thinking that they were robbing my profit. But actually, a bit like what Klein said, without the people around you, the growth doesn't happen and it's not accelerated and things like that. So when you look towards employing, 5 or 6 people, you forget about that personal pledge from the business as such. You just need them people to be able to drive your business forward. But definitely pressure at the start, thinking that, they're taking all your profit, and then pressure when you get a team and now know the ins and outs, and you're trying to almost be, your mental health first aider, your work-life balance manager, your mortgage advisor, you end up being a jack of all trades, I guess.
But yeah, just easy stacks up, doesn't it? And yeah, I think you're definitely right. They're unpredictable. Anything can happen. Any sort of issue can sort of crop up. And I think it's interesting to say that when you first sort of started hiring a team, that you sort of kind of thought they were sort of robbing your profit a bit, because it's always a very big cost involved hiring staff, isn't it? And if you've never hired staff before and all of a sudden you've got 5 people and you look at the books and you're like, bloody hell, that's a big outgoing. Without the people, you don't get that sort of scale and growth. So there was the sort of like a tipping point where that sort of perception of they're taking my profits to actually they're helping me grow. When was that? Like, was there a point when you thought, actually, that's not what's happening here? I've just got to kind of grit through the tough start.
No, definitely. I think that's quite a selfish opinion at the start. And I think part of that is inexperience, naivety of not forecasting overheads. As simple as that. And I guess as you get to a certain level, I stick to the number 5, because anything over that, you've then got your processes and your HR and your duties of an employer and things, which then build your overheads higher. But now sat at, like I say, about 30 employees across 2 businesses, the word leverage I absolutely love and I keep forgetting about. We now leverage the likes of admin between the 2 businesses, so that instead of one direct overhead, it's half an overhead per business. It's like a seesaw, isn't it? A bit like the processes will restrict you, but equally the processes will grow you to a stage. And that's the same with employees.
The term that's coming to mind, I don't know if we can coin it here, but like a profit sponge. I don't know if that's a different way for saying like an overhead in the business. And one of the things that I definitely got wrong was bringing in too many overheads too soon and too many people that were not directly kind of revenue generating. That was definitely a learning point for me, because cash is king, as they say.
Well, yeah, I suppose in the early days of any business, cash flow is essential, really, in obviously surviving those first sort of few years until you get out into some more clearer waters.
I mean, I don't know about you guys. Cash flow is like always at the forefront of my mind. I'm just like, I live for my cash flow.
Water is.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I guess, yeah, Klein, like you say, you've got to manage that effectively, and you've got to really be on point with that. And I think a lot of that sort of maybe financial planning maybe gets overlooked a bit when people are starting businesses, because they maybe sort of rush into it a little bit and they think, oh, I've got this great idea. There seems to be a gap in the market. People, are initially receptive to it. It seems to be going well. Then all of a sudden, perhaps, you haven't planned, 12 months down the line, 24 months down the line, what's that cash flow going to look like? Are you going to have any big expenses coming up? Or are there any sort of regulations or taxes that you maybe not thought of? And all of a sudden, this brilliant idea that you've got doesn't seem so profitable after all. But with a bit of cash flow forecast to begin with, you might be able to avoid that.
I think the spreadsheet,
I don't know what you think.
Pesky.
The spreadsheets always just feel a bit
pesky
different.
VAT, pesky VAT and pesky corporation tax at the quarterly and yearly just gets in the way of a good time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think the word for me is becoming comfortable. So initially, taking staff on or before you've registered, it's the feeling of being uncomfortable. So I'm not sure what that one employee is going to bring in terms of risk to the business. But when you become comfortable with onboarding staff and your processes or doing your VAT returns, you become more comfortable, so the risk is potentially less.
Yeah.
And big learning point, when you go VAT registered, it does not mean that everything is 20% off. The write-off people are actually a real thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to consider.
It's a great advert for VAT registration, 20% off.
Yeah.
I think even if you do cost projections, like we do cost projections all the time, fundamentally, you're doing it against people. It's hyper focused on people being a cost here, because in the hospitality sector, they're the most variant, right? They go up and down with revenue, and revenue goes up and down Monday to Sunday. So the problem is like you try and hit 25%, 30% staffing to revenue, which is great. It looks great on a spreadsheet. But what that looks like in real life, actually, if you're successful, is you've got tired staff, you've got overworked staff, you've got facilities that aren't working, you've got peak times that are hard to shift, that are hard to rotor. So it's all wonderful. The hardest thing is being slightly guarded on your empathy. It's like, I am so empathetic towards your situation, but if we do not hit 25%, I cannot pay your wages. Actually, I'm protecting you by making this tight. And it's that relationship internally that you've got to get right. You don't have to discuss it with your team, but you can. Is actually, I need this business to operate like this. This is what it looks like. You're telling me it's hard, but it's also easy here, and you're not telling me that. I need it to work like this for your future and your job to be secure. And that's the hard bit, because we always want to be like, oh, you're having a hard time. It does actually look hard. I want to help you. But then also, you're not looking at the point where it's really easy. It's really comfortable, and no one ever tells you about that. So I think that's the internal conversation. Like, it's always hard, but you're dealing with humans, and we all want a bit more, right? We all have a bit of ambition. So I think that's the hard conversation to have inside.
Just a point that you raised there that I've reflected on is my two businesses operate differently. So the bakery is very much target driven. So that's very easy to create like a staff rota. And I guess it's a bit like pricing a job. You know, you've got set hours, and then anything over them set hours, you know, you're in the danger zone and you can make a loss. And I think it's making that clear to your employees that if you don't hit these targets, that we need to do something before, you know, everybody's at risk, really.
Yeah. I always find that if you ever want a discount, ask the owner, because they're so easy to say. That's why the first thing I learned from having a management team is like, anyone comes for a deal, ask the manager, and I'll tell the manager no, and they can have the awkward conversation. But like, it's so easy as an employee. You find out you're so soft. It's like, I want everyone to be happy. I want my customers to be happy. I want my team to be happy. I want everyone to be happy. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Please don't ask me any more difficult questions.
Delegate.
Okay, so I'm going to throw out another question here, take it in a slightly different direction now. So I'd quite like to understand from all of your perspectives, or if someone's got one, just shout out. So what do you think one advantage is of being young is when you're, you know, in sort of in entrepreneurship and running a business? Yeah, what's one advantage of that?
Being able to burn the candle at both ends, that's definitely me. I mean, I'm a very nocturnal person, so all my friends laugh that they can message me any time of the day and I'll reply within 15 minutes. That's very true. And also about communication. I argue with my friends about this all the time when they don't reply. In my life and in my circles, it is the most successful people, the wealthiest people, and the most to do with people who reply quicker, because successful people value communication. If you're on your phone, it takes 2 seconds to reply. And I've adapted that. Sorry, this is digressing slightly from the question, but I've adapted that. But definitely being able to burn the candle at both ends, I think, is a positive trait of being young. I think the ambition, looking good, if we're going to be honest. We can walk into a meeting and be really tired and still look great. But no, seriously, I think it's the general ambition and the energy that you can bring to a room. And also for me, you know, I often, even when there's a little bit of I always forget the word, when you feel like you're out of your depth. What's that word, that phrase?
Jumping in the deep end, just going straight in for it.
Like being, but being, perhaps when you sit there and think, I'm meant to be in this room, and I always think there's a reason I'm the youngest at the table. There's a reason I'm at this table.
Sort of a bit like imposter syndrome, what you think that you sort of feel a bit.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so imposter syndrome has sometimes been a thing for me, and then within 30 seconds, I'll have talked myself out of feeling like that, because my calendar is so varied. Like, one minute I'm sat in a boardroom with, you know, CEOs to put multi-million pound public sector companies in it, and government ministers. The next, I'm sat at the table at the Brick Wall with a huge A-list celebrity, and there's a reason I'm at that table. There's a reason I've got in that room. Normally through pure arrogance and confidence, but there's a reason, and there's a reason my clients trust me. And when you tell yourself that, the imposter syndrome goes. So that's been a thing as well as being a young person. It's often questioning, like, am I meant to be here? Like, especially in West Cumbria and in Cumbria as a whole, I think that the big guns who are doing it look a lot different to all of us in terms of their, you know, a lot of them who are winning awards and you know, on the front page of Cumbria magazine tend to be, you know, well into their 50s and 60s and wear, you know, no offense, client shirts and ties every day and look a certain way. You know what I mean? It's like that. If that's something as well, I think we might struggle with, but also it's feeling like you don't fit in, right, or feel like you're not meant to be doing what you're doing. But I think, I think being young is very, on the whole, very powerful. I think we've got many positive attributes. Definitely millennials and Gen Z are a force to be reckoned with. the energy and the kind of, you know, I don't know about any of you guys, but sometimes I'm like, well, it's my life, and I'm just going to go for it, kind of thing. You know, a lot of people rely on other people. A lot of my friends rely on people giving them a job. It's like a lot of people, mummy and daddy helping them, or this and that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to go on a bitching session about nepotism, but I am very much like, if I want it, I'll go out and get it. And it sounds daft, but like my mum and dad at Christmas, even though I'm still 22, they'll still ask me what I want for Christmas, and I'll be like, well, I'm not being funny, but you're going to buy me things that if I want, you know, if I want something, I'll work my ass off to go and get it, because for me personally, it's the satisfaction, right? So I think that's definitely something about being young, and when you're in businesses, it's the ambition, it's that I will do that, and you put that pressure on. And when somebody says no, going back to the Kardashian ilk of people, Kylie Jenner, she always says, if someone says no, you're speaking to the wrong person. By the way, I'm definitely not a fan of that TV show. I am. But she always says, if someone says no, I'm speaking to the wrong person. Now, within reason, but I live by that. If somebody tells me no, it actually fuels me. If somebody says, oh, really? You know, I can remember once I was at a beer festival in Gosford, where I live, at a little village about 25 minutes away from my office. And this guy, not naming names, but he's a member of a local big energy networking group. And he kind of like, this was back in end of 2020, I think it was 2021, one of those kind of years when I was really quite early on in my business. And I kind of got the look up and down, and he said, well, maybe you should go back to the drawing board and go back to university. And now every time I see him, like my LinkedIn post, there is that little bit in me that goes, I can remember you, you absolute so-and-so. And I'm like, I love that you're now liking my stuff. And I love that you are now probably regretting, or you think back on your word. What's that saying where you eat your own words? So, yeah, I mean, I think I just don't listen to people when they'll say no, or within.
Well, I mean, that's fantastic, because you're going to come across people that.
Accountant.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to come across people that, you know, either don't believe in you or think that, you know, you're too young to be doing this. Don't be daft. Like, yeah, you've got exactly the right attitude, Oliver. Do what you want to do. It's your life. Go for it. Good on you.
I love that Oliver takes us. I love that Oliver takes us on an emotional roller coaster all the way through when he's speaking, because there was a time when I was actually feeling quite guilty for not having responded to his message today at 13:25, because obviously the best people respond within 15 minutes, and it's now 20 past 2. But then he said that I had a shit shirt and a shit tie on, so I don't feel bad about that anymore.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Has anybody else got anything that would share on what they maybe think the advantage of being young in business is? Anyone else, or should we move on?
I think the advantage is obvious. You're youthful. It's the biggest advantage ever. You're young. Like, everyone would give anything younger again. Like, it's the biggest advantage. But fundamentally, people work with people that are moving and are consistent. Like, I want to be around people that are doing well at what they're doing, and they've been consistently doing well at what they're doing, recognized or unrecognized, for a sustained period. Like, whatever you're doing, that's who you want to be around, right? But the advantage of youth is youth. That's the only advantage of youth. You're youthful. It's amazing. Best ever.
I want to pick up on one word that you said there as well, consistency, because I think that is a bit of a thing that perhaps many young sort of people struggle with. And I know that I definitely did, you know, when I was a bit younger as well. It was quite hard for me to remain consistent in, you know, like the level and the standard of just, you know, the energy and focus that I was putting into things. Like,
you just got to find the thing that's more painful not to do than it is to do. And that's how you get consistency. If you're more of a pain in the ass to yourself because you're not doing it than you are doing it, that's how you find consistency. It's not a magic morning routine. It's like, oh, I resent myself more if I don't do the hard thing than if I do the hard thing. Like, I think
that's a good way to look at it, because you're forcing yourself to do it, because you're still choosing the easy way out. It's just you've managed to force yourself to do what you should be doing.
Luke, I think you should write a mini MBA book, and you should start selling it, because I learn a new snippet from you every time I'm on something like this.
I'm telling you, Mad
Hatter's MBA.
Let's just go around the room now. We're coming to the close. Can you share with us just one piece of advice that you'd like to share with someone that's potentially thinking about starting their own business? Luke, why don't we start with you again?
Make sure you're doing it for you. Like, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, and it suits you, and you'll do it forever. Like, whatever that is, it's just, it's so easy. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, not because it looks sexy and cool on someone else.
Yeah, spot on. I think, spot on there. Lou?
So, as cliche as it sounds, coming from someone with a flying pig character brand, I am all about the believing in your dreams and, listening to your heart and or whatever you want to call it, your gut instinct, that thing that gnaws away at you at night that you're like, oh, I could see myself doing that. Whether it's up in lights or like making these amazing products or connecting with these people that get me all excited. And I think it's just, such a disservice to yourself to not try. And you can catastrophically fail. That's okay. That's how we learn, right? It's like failure is just learning, and it's like fail fast, crack on, try the next thing. And like, I mean, we literally do that all day, every day, right? When you're an entrepreneur, it's just like, didn't work. It's all just a giant experiment. And, like a lot of what you guys were saying earlier, it's just about having fun with it, find the joy in it. Like, I get so lost sometimes in the schedules and the budget, and everyone's so like desperate for it to be the best thing we've ever made, and, all of that. And then it's like, we're making cartoons, people. Like, we're trying to bring some joy into the world. Let's just ground ourselves in that energy right now of like, we're doing what we love, we're drawing pictures, we're coming up with cool ideas and stories. And I know obviously you're all in very different industries, but there's something that you adore and love about what you put out there into the world, that you've turned into this amazing offer service that people are desperate to come to you for. And it's like, so every time I get overwhelmed, it's like, you were saying about it before, Luke, that it's gratitude, right? It's just like, I am sitting doing this thing that I dreamed of doing. Like 10-year-old me is freaking out right now at what I'm working on this week. And I just love that. So for anyone looking to start their own business, you just give it a go. And, I think that is just how to live life in general.
Yeah, I think that was absolutely fantastic. I'm actually inspired to do something now myself, I think.
Yes. Go on, Sean.
I think that you're spot on. And I loved what you said about not being afraid to fail. Do you know what I mean? And, you are likely going to fail, really, aren't you? But it's about handling that failure and getting back on track and just keep on going. Like you said, absolutely fantastic. Love that.
Just going to move past it as quick as you can. Get good at failing fast and you'll be up and running, no doubt.
Brilliant. Klein, what advice have you got for our listeners?
Get to action quickly and don't overthink, I think is the key summary for me, because in acting, you're failing, and failing, you're learning, in learning, you're progressing. So really like what Lou said about failing fast and failing forwards. Don't overthink it. It does not need to be perfect before you get going. And naivety is actually a huge strength. And it's to go back to the piece about earlier. If you'd have overanalyzed every situation you'd ever been in, you'd probably be stifled by inactivity or having never done anything. So it's a huge strength to go into something and learn it for the first time.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Klein. I think that's really insightful. I think you're spot on there. You just got to do it, haven't you? To start putting one foot forward. Brilliant. Oliver.
Yeah, no, I think, look, I like the nice things in life, the finer things in life, but I think ultimately don't forget who you are, because when you die, nobody forgets the materialistic things and forget the person you were, the values that you had, and the contributions you made to good things. I'm very topic with my time and giving back and things like that. And I'm very, although we go away doing great things all over the country and the world, I remember where I'm from, I remember where I grew up. And I think being true to yourself is really, really important in business. Like, yes, we're here to build something we love and we're passionate about, and yes, make money and build a team and, all of the wonderful things that come with it, full of stress. But I think it's important not to let go of who you are, your values and your morals. And sometimes in a very crowded space, especially with social media, how saturated the market is in terms of people dishing out opinions and unwanted opinions left, right, and centre. Sometimes it can be very easy to lose sight of why you started. I think purpose is everything, and I think not letting go of what you're truly passionate about and making sure you're grounded and humble. And that's probably a bit hypocritical coming from me, because I work in PR and being humble is not a thing in my world. But I mean, in terms of being humble with where you got to, how you've got there, the journey, and also respecting the journey, the effort that you have to put in. For me, it's always important to think about that and never compare yourself. I mean, I've been so guilty of that over the years of really comparing myself in terms of numbers, and people are always spinning around head counts and revenue figures and da 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 da. And let me tell you now, as somebody who works in PR, it is all fluff. and play the game as well. That's the other thing, actually. Play the bloody damn game. Yeah, everyone else is doing it. So if you can't beat them, join them. In terms of telling a story, get out there, get yourself on the stage, all that kind of thing. Absolutely. But for me, and this has been a recent thing that I've discovered this through situations in my personal life and family life, is when your days, come to an end in terms of, you pass away and things, people remember the person you were, not not the materialistic stuff that came with your life and not the status. They remember the person you are. And I think I've kind of now got down to myself a bit more from my egotistical days, slightly. And I've always been involved in the community. I do a lot of work with people like Gary McKee and a father son in Norfolk who are cycling around the world. We do a lot of pro bono stuff for me because I just love what I do and I love people, and that's why I've got into the business I am, and that's my purpose, is the people. That's my
brilliant.
advice.
Yeah, spot on. And I think that's really important as well, to stay grounded, because obviously, running and growing and scaling a business can take you to heights that you perhaps never even thought were possible. It can be easy to lose yourself in those sort of situations. So yeah, thanks, Oliver.
Yeah, I've struggled with that. I've struggled with that massively as well, just to add in West Cumbria, because a lot of my friends, you go to Manchester and London, there's a lot of young entrepreneurs, there's a lot of 22-year-olds doing what I'm doing. But in West Cumbria, that isn't a thing. 99% of my friends are all degree apprentices and really successful in their own right and doing what they love. Success to me is it's all about perspective, right? And everyone's version of success is very different. Everyone's choices in life and things like that, and version of that looks different. So yeah, but I think for me, it's my friends and people in West Cumbria put me on a pedestal, and I kind of wish they hadn't, because it's very hard to come off a pedestal. You know what I mean? Like that can be quite tricky and things. So yeah, I think making sure people know that you're just a normal person. I think there's always been this thing where if you run a company, or you own a business and all that kind of thing, and the heights it can take you to, people have this idea of grandeur that you're someone you're not. And at the end of the day, I'm still Ollie from the block. You know what I mean? No matter what award show I attend, or who I'm photographed with, or what great client I have, or whatever, I am still Ollie from school. I am still happy every now and again to go out in town. It's like daft things like that. And I think it's actually not daft. It's making sure the circle you have around you still keep you grounded. And my dad is great at doing that. He doesn't cave into I spent 4 or 5 years in the media myself now, and there's been peaks and troughs. But at the height of it in kind of 2022 and things, it was difficult because you people put you on this pedestal, and then you get all the negative comments as well. But my dad, throughout it all, has been an expert at keeping me grounded. And at some points, I just want to clout him around the head. So I'm like, will you just give me a little bit of a chance to have a bit of an ego here, Dad? But yeah, he's been great at that, and I think that's really important. And I always want my friends to think that I'm just Ollie, no matter what comes along with it. And I think with business, that is going to come along, no matter what industry you're in. When you get a taste of success and you get success, attention comes, recognition comes, and so it should, because we've earned it and you've earned it. So yeah, I think it's just about managing that as well. It's really important.
Yeah, brilliant. Gina, what piece of advice would you give to our listeners?
Yeah, I think the first bit of advice is to go for it. I'm always a yes person to opportunities, but I think it's also good to realise that I just fell into this entrepreneurialism, and I didn't find people that's we're speaking to today until quite later on in self-employment. So I didn't know that it was normal to have 1,000 ideas and to just say yes to shiny things and sort of see where it leads you. I think it's really important to reflect. So quite early on, I was fortunate to get some mentoring, and a bit of self-learning, and growth is all about reflection and seeing sort of what you've achieved and where you want to get to. But the most important thing for what self-employment brought to me is satisfaction, but a really strange feeling of freedom. I don't, have weekends off, but my sort of 9 to 5 can be any time of day that I want. And you can sort of make it work for you. Some weeks, you try and cram your diary so full that it's literally bursting and you're doing, what feels like 24 hours in a day. But then other weeks, you've got that flexibility. So yeah, I really, really enjoy being self-employed.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I think we'll bring things to a close there. I just want to say, Luke, Lou, Klein, Oliver, Gina, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been absolutely fantastic getting to know you all a little bit more. And thank you for sharing your experience and just helping our listeners understand, what it's like running your own business, being a young entrepreneur, and how people can get started, really. So, yeah, just again, a massive thank you for joining. I hope to see you all again soon.
Can I just say to Oliver,
Thank you.
I hope he never loses his unreasonable belief in futures, because like people like you having an unreasonable belief in the future that you created drives everything forward. So good being grounded. Your unreasonable belief in your future is everything. So yeah. Don't come to the ground.
Thank you. You'll see me at the Oscars next year.
Yeah, I'm there for it. I'm there for it.